Hi everyone, a very warm welcome to today's YouTube Live hosted by ICHARS, the Institute of Clinical Hypnosis and Related Sciences. We are so glad to have you join us as we continue our live series where we dive into meaningful mental health conversations. At ICHARS, we focus on equipping professionals with integrative and evidence based tools to support real transformation using frameworks like cognitive hypnotic psychotherapy. Today's session is on a topic that's often misunderstood but deeply important: understanding repetitive dysfunctional behaviors. Ever wondered why you keep attracting the same kind of people, situations, or emotional triggers, even when you know better? Today, we'll explore the psychology and the dynamics behind repetitive dysfunctional patterns. What exactly are dysfunctional patterns that show up as emotional, relational, and behavioral loops? Why do we repeat? And how awareness and self compassion help begin transformation? We are joined by Nitin Shah, the founder of ICHARS, a certified trainer, therapist, and the creator of cognitive hypnotic coaching and psychotherapy. His work blends clinical hypnosis, NLP, CBT, and mindfulness to create powerful shifts for both therapists and clients. We are excited for this conversation, so stay with us, drop your thoughts or questions in the comments, and let's explore the reality of repetitive dysfunctional behaviors together. Good evening, Nitin sir, and welcome to this very important topic of understanding repetitive dysfunctional behaviors.
Thank you, Ritu, for hosting this session with us. And I'm looking forward to all the questions that you've prepared. So let's see where this goes.
Yes, sir. So, to begin with, sir, I'm very curious, like all of us, what exactly are dysfunctional behaviors and how do we recognize them?
Okay, so I have a very simple definition through which I understand dysfunctional behavior. Any behavior which is stopping you from moving closer to your desired outcome or is leading to an outcome that you're not comfortable with, that you would rather like to avoid. In both cases, I would call these dysfunctional behaviors. Now, I expand the definition of behavior from just external actions to internal actions as well. And behaviors for me would also include things that I'm not doing. So, for example, I'm smoking, that will be dysfunctional behavior, especially if I want to live a healthy life and the cigarette is affecting my health negatively. At the same time, I am I want to go to an exercise to a gym, but I'm not going. So even that act of not doing something, I
Hmm.
would classify dysfunctional behavior. But both of them are external. And then
Okay.
internal would be the way I think and the
Hmm.
way I feel. Uh, all of this together, I would classify into dysfunctional behaviors that are stopping me from living the kind of life that I want to live.
Okay. Okay, that's easy to understand. But having said that, why do we repeat the same mistakes even when we know that these are stopping us from our desired outcome?
So why are we stopping or why are we repeating the same problems again? There are multiple reasons for it, but one of the primary thing is that we are creatures of habit, right? Which means once there is a habit that we have incorporated in our being, whether good or bad, our system on an autopilot implements that particular habit.
Mhm.
So dysfunctional behaviors in many ways are strategies that we have been using knowingly or unknowingly. Strategies at one point probably gave us results, or at least we hoped they would give us some result.
Mhm.
But they haven't. To give you an example first, and then I'll come back to repetitive, why they are repetitive. So let's say when I have to study, I feel anxious. Um, One of the days I opened my book, I started reading, I started feeling very anxious. I saw my phone, I turned on Insta, and I started scrolling. Now, because I was mindlessly scrolling, that overwhelmed feeling, the anxiety that I was experiencing when I was studying was no longer there.
Mhm.
So now, what did my mind realize? Okay, this is one of the ways in which I can cope with my anxiety and overwhelmed feeling.
Mhm.
Albeit a short term behavior, but it still served some purpose,
Mhm.
right? There may be other places where I used a strategy that did not work, but I
Mhm.
thought it would, and I continued hoping it would work someday. And therefore,
Mhm.
I continued utilizing that habit or that behavior till it became a habit.
Mhm.
Now, once I've done this repetitively, my mind almost creates a condition, an association, that every time I'm about to sit and study, once I feel anxious, overwhelmed, then I pick up my phone. And then
Mhm.
this can expand further. That over a period of time, my mind already knows. The moment I look at the book, I feel anxious. So
Mhm.
it ensures that I end up picking up the phone even before I actually sit to study.
Right.
So what is happening with recurring repetitive behaviors is these were strategies that we utilized at one point of time. Uh, they may have given us results, they may not have given us results, but we have used them repetitively. And now it's almost become an automated behavior. In the
Mhm.
way we talk, automated behaviors are all controlled by the subconscious or the unconscious, depending upon what terminology you prefer.
Right.
Once something becomes a part of unconscious, uh, you literally have to ways of communicating to unconscious to change that behavior. Sadly, most of us don't. Our way of developing a behavior is repetition. Our way
Mhm.
of trying to change a behavior is repetition.
Mhm.
But new repetition is difficult because the old repetition is already set.
Right.
And therefore, those repetitive recurring behaviors continue to play out.
Okay. Right. So, like you said, that just studying was giving anxiousness, and it was helped by, picking up the phone. So, could it be possible that now that something else is also triggering that anxiety, the phone is again a go-to thing?
So that's one of the things about the mind, right? It's an incredibly powerful generalization.
Mm.
It learns one thing and then it looks at other areas where it can apply the same learning,
Right.
right? So it learned
Mm.
using phone
Mm.
is a way of preventing myself from experiencing anxiety and overwhelm.
Mhm.
So in every situation where probably I may feel anxious
Mm.
or overwhelmed, the mind may, as a safety mechanism, implement the strategy of going back to the phone.
Right. Right.
Now, and it's not just that people around me may see that as a problem.
Mm.
I myself may know
Mm.
that I'm investing too much time on phone,
Mm.
but I am not able to figure out why am I investing so much time on phone.
Mm.
Because now when I'm using that phone is literally making me not even study. So if the
Mhm.
idea was I study, I feel anxious, then I use phone, then I at least have a connection in my head.
Mhm.
Now my problem is I'm not sure why am I not able to study.
Mhm.
I don't know why am I using phone, and because
Mm.
when I start using phone, I'm already feeling comfortable. So you
Right.
can't tell me that phone is providing relief to me.
Mm.
What I'm not able to realize is phone is actually preventing me
I
from
think,
experiencing that anxiety from which I would rather,
yeah.
from which later on I would want to experience relief.
Mhm.
And this generalization can become broader and broader in different areas of life.
Right. Okay. That's interesting. So, do past conditionings like trauma and early attachments shape adult behavioral loops?
Can it? The answer is yes. Does it always? The answer is no. So you have to understand, as humans, we are so unique in our own ways that
Mhm.
to give you a standard answer that's applicable for everyone,
Mhm.
does A always impact B?
Mhm.
The answer is no. But can A impact B? So, can trauma, early attachments lead to these repetitive patterns? The answer
Mhm.
is yes. In most cases, they do. But I would
Mhm.
just not want to overgeneralize and say it happens in every case.
Mhm.
Right? And the behavioral loops that you're talking about are basically these repetitive patterns that we are involved in, that we are
Mhm.
indulging in. So, another
Mhm.
way of calling repetitive dysfunctional patterns will be behavioral loops.
Behavioral loops, yes,
Okay.
that's true.
Now, we took the example of so let me take another example. Let's say I want to quit sweets, right?
Okay.
Now, if I want to quit sweets, eating sweets will be a dysfunctional behavior, especially if it's affecting my health.
Mm-hmm.
When I was young, um, I did not get as much love and attention from people around me. I did have
Mm.
either, it's an example.
Yeah.
So I let's assume for a moment that I did not get enough love and attention from people around me. Now, the attention that I got was on marriage during marriage ceremonies, during Diwali, during occasions where family would sit together. We will eat a lot of sweets,
Mm.
and that was our way of showcasing that we care,
Mm.
or at least it was people's way of showcasing to me that they care.
Mm.
Now today I want to quit sweets.
Mm.
If I feel alone,
Mm.
I feel unloved, and I have sweets in front of me.
Mm.
What do you think will happen?
We'll start reaching out for sweets for that same
And now
care.
it becomes repetitive. So that early experience
Mm.
is now impacting what's happening with me today,
Mm.
right? And so yes, past experiences, whether traumatic or otherwise, will influence our repair. But to
Mm.
what degree that changes from people to people?
Okay. So, sir, in this scenario, then what is the difference between a pattern and a habit then?
Okay, so there is a lot of overlap,
Mm.
um, but I would call habit as more of a routine action, which we are also choosing most of the times to
Mm-hmm.
remain involved in. Examples will be brushing your teeth, taking a bath, going for a walk for people who indulge in that habit. These are habit patterns that we are inculcating knowingly because we feel that these will provide positive outcomes
Mm-hmm.
in our life,
Mm-hmm.
right? The connotation of patterns is generally more negative.
Okay.
That I'm following a pattern, and the pattern can be more than habit, by the way. Okay, a
Mm.
habit is more a specific action. Pattern
Mm.
can be for people who are in relationships where they have patterns of relationship. They get into a bad relationship, it goes from
Mm.
bad to worse. Then
Mm.
finally they get the courage to move out of that relationship.
Mm.
But the next relationship they get into is actually mirroring the previous relationship, and the next one, and the next one. So this is again patterns of relationship,
Mhm.
right? I may have patterns which are so I procrastinate habit.
Mhm.
Then I break that procrastination because the deadline is right in the corner, and I need to take action. So I take action, read that
Mhm.
work, but I feel very anxious, very uncomfortable. For the next activity, I again
Mhm.
procrastinate, and then I take action. So what's happening is patterns can have multiple habits in it, and one pattern
Yeah.
can be a combination of multiple habits. Habits are more, the way the term is used is more about specific behaviors being repeated over and over again.
Mhm. So, as I can understand from what you're saying, habit is more consciously driven and pattern is more unconsciously driven. Is it like that?
Habit can also become unconsciously driven because we have just repeated it so many times that it literally becomes a muscle memory now,
Yeah.
right? But generally, if you're looking at habits only as habits and
Mm-hmm.
distinct from patterns, then
Mm-hmm.
habits are more about behaviors.
Okay.
Okay, they may not necessarily be tied to anything deeper. It's just repetitive action that has led to that habit.
Mhm.
Patterns would generally involve deeper aspects of beliefs, identity into the
Mhm.
mix.
So, like you just explained, so like a pattern can be a combination of habits, and we do not realize when a conscious habit starts sliding into an unconscious pattern. Okay.
A conscious habit can slide into an unconscious habit
Yeah.
and can
Yeah.
also slide into eventually becoming more generalized into a pattern.
Pattern. Right. Okay. So I'm sure this is a like you said spoke about relationships mirroring, earlier relationships. Uh, so why do some people attract emotionally available partners repeatedly?
Emotionally available, emotionally
Unavailable.
unavailable partners. So for the same reason, right? There is a pattern. So I'm getting attracted to someone. Now, generally, attraction is not a conscious phenomenon. It's just that I see someone and I feel attracted to them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the starting point itself is not being controlled by me consciously.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, unconscious works on past patterns.
Right.
Right? So whatever was the past pattern, it generally is replicating that pattern unless you're
Mm-hmm.
able to consciously find a way to break through it, or you're able to communicate with the unconscious to find a way to break through it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So why people generally end up attracting similar nature of relationship? I would not even say necessarily unavailable partners, but the nature of relationship that they attract literally mirrors the previous relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Is for this reason that the mind is replicating the old patterns.
Mm-hmm.
It's attracted to the same kind of people that it got attracted to earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And once you get attracted to those people and you start getting into that relationship, then the cycle just continues. It's the starting point that then decides how things are going. Having said that, at any place, at any stage, each of us
Mm-hmm.
have the opportunity to take a pause and see if we want to consciously do something about it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or we want to consciously decide to nudge the unconscious to do something about it. But
Right.
that choice is always there with us.
Mm.
It's just that we don't realize the choice and we don't exercise the choice.
Yeah, so this pattern, which is mirroring earlier relationships or going down the same lane with similar kind of dynamics, is stemming from some kind of unresolved trauma, right?
Stemming from some kind of unresolved issue, will I
Mm-hmm.
necessarily call it trauma? Uh, because trauma as a word has its own significance and so on, right? But yeah, there would be certain deeper emotional challenges that are there because of which these repetitive patterns are happening.
Happening.
Also, to for example, and it's not necessary that the pattern is that there was something wrong that happened with me. There are people who have the um, what do we call it? There's the savior syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
मैं इसको सुधार दूंगा, मैं इसको सुधार दूंगी. So they
Right,
are
right.
getting into a relationship from one relationship to another relationship with the idea that हम इनको सुधार देंगे.
Mm-hmm.
Or they are stuck in the same relationship from that point of view,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that becomes a problem. Then also for many of these people where they've gone through a couple of such experiences and probably they've witnessed similar experiences with others,
Mm-hmm.
there sets in a generalization that
Mm-hmm.
eventually all relationships are like this.
Right, right.
So then what is the point of really even trying to find a way out of it?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that again keeps them same relationship. Right? So
Right.
those patterns can be caused by multiple factors, but yes, they would again be deeper beliefs, identity that will get involved, and the fact that the unconscious is getting attracted to similar kind of people, but that's just its function to act
Mm-hmm.
on a familiar first principle.
So this mindset, what you just mentioned, that it's like this in all relationships, this kind of generalized approach that kind of helps the pattern to continue. So how does one stop this rescuer victim kind of dynamic in relationships?
If you ask me, my answer is visit a therapist, a good therapist.
All
Okay, let
right,
me qualify that. Right?
right.
Um, the reason for this is, can you do it on your own? Maybe you can,
Hmm.
but that required you to go more trial and error? Would that require go through more pain than probably what?
Hmm.
The answer is no. If you are looking at doing some self work, learn processes like perceptual position, but all learn Paris window, learn to do cost benefit analysis, learn win-win statements to be able to restructure your thoughts and your feelings. But the problem is with all of these talking about, you are still not working with deeper underlying causes when it comes to such patterns, right?
Hmm.
And for deeper underlying causes, I would still recommend going to a therapist only for a reason that when you are working with them, they are very emotionally charged, which means
Right,
you have a potential to lose objectivity when you're working with yourself,
right, right.
right? And if you're not objective and you try to do any of these things, it can actually put you
Hmm.
into a bigger downward spiral.
Right.
So going to a therapist is useful in this context. It can actually save you from the additional and
mm,
additional troubles that people may have to go through when they're trying to
mm,
work by themselves. But I'm again qualifying
mm,
and I'm saying, when I say a therapist or a psychologist, I'm saying please read up, find a person who's really good, and then consult them.
mm. So, to step out of that kind of a generalization and having made that decision to visit a good therapist, what would be the first signs that would indicate that an old loop is repeating again?
I
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. So to kind of get to the point of visiting a good therapist, what would be the first signs that would be indicative of the individual repeating the pattern again, the loop again?
Okay, so before you go to a therapist, you want to check that I have a pattern that I'm repeating, and then I decide whether I want to go to a therapist or not.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually not too difficult. Just observe what's happening in your life. Just notice which of your behaviors are causing pain to you,
Mm-hmm.
right? And how would you identify those behaviors? One would be to become more mindful, observe what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Second, take feedback from people around you. Most of the times, people around you are actually able to notice some of your behaviors sooner than you. I'm not saying agree with all of them. I'm not saying that you need to listen to whatever they say. But
Mm-hmm.
when they say something, and when there are people who are saying things to you repetitively, that this is
Mm-hmm.
what you're doing again and again and again. Now,
Mm-hmm.
you may agree with the fact that I'm doing this again, but
Mm-hmm.
you may also agree with the idea that I want to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Then I wouldn't necessarily call it's a problem because it's a choice that I'm making.
Yeah.
That others may have a problem with my behavior, but I am choosing to do this behavior because it's serving some purpose for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another part where someone is telling you that you're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And you are also realizing that if I'm doing this repetitively, I would not like to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Then it may be a good idea to just visit someone, have a conversation, and check if objectively you guys can figure out what's happening.
Okay.
Third, just think of it from a very small point of view. Each of us want to do certain things as a part of our day-to-day life.
Mm-hmm.
If
Okay.
you feel you are not doing the things that you want to do during the day,
Mm-hmm.
whatever the reason could be, go and visit a therapist.
Okay.
That will be a sign that there's something that you need to address. Now,
Okay.
coming to your question of unresolved trauma specifically, because what I've shared may not necessarily be about trauma, but it could
Yeah.
be about other things. Wherever you're experiencing intense dysfunctional emotions,
Mm-hmm.
when I say intense dysfunctional emotions, what that means is you're experiencing certain emotions which are more exaggerated than what otherwise you feel they should be,
Mm-hmm.
which is one.
Mm-hmm.
Second, you feel that the frequency of those emotions is more than ideally what situations in your life warrant.
Mm-hmm.
Third, you feel that the situations in your life are such that you can't do anything about it, and this feeling of helplessness, hopelessness is
Mm-hmm.
a more pervasive feeling across multiple areas of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, these would be indicators that probably, again, probably, but probably there is some unresolved trauma that is present. For other people, they may actually notice flashes. They may get triggered very quickly about small things,
Mm-hmm.
right? So all of these would be examples of potential unresolved trauma. Lastly, there could also be a lot of psychosomatic issues.
Mm-hmm. Things just that don't just come out in the medical reports, but you are experiencing some kind of a
Yeah, so
bodily
you basically
physiological.
go to a doctor, you say that I'm having an ache, I'm having a pain, or I'm having an allergy. The doctor goes through the reports and everything and says, all right, do these tests. You
Mm-hmm.
do those tests. Doctor
Mm-hmm.
studies the tests and tell you there's nothing wrong with the reports.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So there is a problem because you're experiencing it, but there is no medical cause for it.
Okay. Okay. So, can journaling and mindfulness help in understanding these dysfunctional patterns of behavior?
Okay, so before I come to journaling and mindfulness, a couple of other things about what else can we do to recognize
Mm-hmm.
suppressed emotions or unresolved trauma. Um, Psychosomatic issues I've already told you, which basically would include also any kind of discomfort that you're experiencing in a persistent manner in your body. It can
Mm-hmm.
be heaviness, it can be, there are certain people who will get up and they will say that we are literally feeling lethargic all throughout the day,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? Or there's heaviness in my shoulder constantly.
Mm-hmm.
These may be indicators that there could be more that you need to explore.
Mm-hmm.
They may also be recurring repetitive thought patterns that you're just not able to manage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And many a times, people become aware of the fact that what is happening in my life currently
Mm-hmm.
does not warrant this degree of
Reaction.
overthinking, this degree of
Mm-hmm.
reaction, even in terms of my thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
right? That I am constantly looking at worst case scenarios, and actually my life is overall going decent.
Mm-hmm.
So then obviously there's somewhere else where this is coming from. It's not really
Mm-hmm.
happening from what is happening in your life currently.
Mm-hmm.
So you may say, I have a habit of overthinking. So even while my life is good, I overthink, but that habit developed somewhere. So you
Okay.
again are talking about going back to the past. So that will
Right.
again be an indicator. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And next you asked me was about
Journaling and mindfulness in helping navigate this.
uh, so journaling would be one of the ways in which you can become mindful.
Mm.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can.
Okay. So journaling will be one of the ways in which you can become mindful. Because when you're journaling, you're actually putting out what is happening in your mind, what is happening in your body. You have to be aware of it to be able to put it out. So journaling is a powerful tool
Mm-hmm.
for mindfulness. Mindfulness
Mm-hmm.
can create a lot of awareness because mindfulness is awareness. That's all in simple words mindfulness is. Um, so yes, it will help you in identifying these patterns. Right?
Okay.
You're more aware of what you're doing, what people are telling you. So
Mm-hmm.
it will help you become more aware of your patterns. Will it necessarily help you break the pattern?
Mm-hmm.
That's a separate question. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we are looking at patterns, there are, like we mentioned earlier, like there are parts to it. There's an external behavior, then there
Mm-hmm.
is my thoughts and my emotions.
Mm-hmm.
I can use mindfulness to become aware of my external behaviors. I can use mindfulness to become aware of what's happening inside me in terms of my thoughts and emotions. So I can recognize external patterns through
Mm-hmm.
mindfulness. I
Mm-hmm.
can also become aware of internal patterns that are driving external patterns,
Mm-hmm. Right.
right? For changing those patterns, I would need something more than journaling and mindfulness. Generally, by
Mindfulness.
itself, these things are not enough.
Mm-hmm. Right. So that brings a lot into perspective. And so after having taken the required steps of journaling, mindfulness, identifying what are the patterns, um, taking the decision to go to a good therapist and resolving all of it, when does one come to know that the real healing has taken place and the pattern is finally ending?
Okay, so the thing about real healing is I don't know how do you define real healing. And I'm being as honest as I can be, right? Because for different people, healing means different thing. How they experience that healing is different because it's more
Hmm.
of an internal experience. Having
Right.
said that, while the internal experience is unique from people to people,
Hmm.
you can have observable indicators which are more external
Hmm.
to understand whether the client is experiencing healing or not, whether you are experiencing healing or not,
Hmm.
right? So generally, when you're going for a therapy, you're
Hmm.
going for a therapy because there are observable indicators. You know it, and therefore you're seeking help, right?
Right.
So either there are certain behaviors. I'm getting angry very frequently. I'm shouting at people very frequently.
Hmm.
Um, I'm procrastinating certain things. I
Hmm.
have aches and pains in terms of and which are unexplained. I have constant overthinking loops,
Hmm.
right? Um, There are outcomes that I'm not achieving.
Hmm.
My weight is an issue. While I'm working with the weight, still the weight does not seem to come in check.
Hmm.
I'm involved in substance or alcohol or cigarettes or sweets or
Hmm.
any of these things, right? So there are observable indicators and problems because of which I am seeking therapeutic help.
Right.
If you are able to notice an observable shift in those problems
Hmm.
in a way
Hmm.
that you don't have to fight with yourself to address it,
Right.
which means right now when I'm eating sweets, I have to fight with myself to not eat it.
Hmm.
I have to remind myself this is bad for me.
Hmm.
When I'm eating that first bite, I have to recall the feeling of guilt so that I don't take up the next bite.
Hmm.
Right? Now, here I have to put in a lot of effort to not eat.
Hmm.
The problem with this is that I will put in the effort today,
Hmm.
tomorrow, day after. Then,
Hmm.
after a few days, all of these effort makes me feel tired.
Hmm.
And because I'm feeling tired and I don't have the kind of support I want around me, so I
Hmm.
want to feel loved again, which
Hmm.
brings me back to the sweets again.
Right. So it's a loop again.
It's a loop, right?
Hmm.
So if you have to fight with yourself to change something,
Hmm.
then healing is not complete.
Not complete. Yeah.
Okay. For me, a sign that healing in a specific area is complete
Hmm.
is that you don't have to fight with yourself to address what you wanted to address. You may
Hmm.
need to fight with yourself along the way. But
Right.
by the time you reach that place where healing is complete,
Hmm.
okay, then you should not be required to fight with yourself. If you
Hmm.
have to fight with yourself, then there's something which is pending, which is remaining.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, going through the same habit, but not kind of having a tussle over there. So it's like a shift in the internal climate and the external observable behavior.
Correct.
Mm.
Right? So it may be the same habit or a different habit. For to give you an
Yeah.
example, let's say I'm okay. So let's say I'm someone who likes taking care of myself.
Mm.
For all practical purposes, people will consider this to be a good habit.
Mm.
Right? But I feel very guilty and ashamed of taking care of myself.
Mm.
So now I take care of myself, I feel guilty, and then I have to remind myself, Nini, but if I don't take care of myself, then how will I take care of other people?
Mm.
Okay? Or I have to remind myself of some spiritual guru or some spiritual uh, mata that I had heard,
Mm.
right? Who had told us that you also need to love yourself, or some psychologist or someone.
Right. Right.
But here, the guilt comes. And now I'm trying to remind myself why I should not feel guilty,
Mm.
right? Then that's not healing. It is
Right.
not what I would call as real healing, if there's any term like that, right?
Mm.
For me, real healing would be I know it's important for me to take care of myself.
Mm.
From today, where I know this intellectually, and yet internally I feel guilty,
Mm.
through whatever process I'm going through, I reach a stage where
Mm.
I can continue doing what I'm doing because this is a behavior that I agree with.
Right.
And I don't have to remind myself to not feel guilty. The guilt doesn't come for this task,
Right.
right? So this is where I want to continue with the pattern, but
Mm.
change the emotional association. It
Mm.
could be the other way around also, where I want to break the pattern. So today, I look
Mm.
at sweets, and my first instinctive response is to pick up and eat,
Mm.
right? Um, and in order to not eat, I have to really fight with myself. This is bad for you.
Yeah.
You know, your gym instructor will shout at you, your dietitian will shout at you. What will people say? How would
Mm.
you look in the mirror?
Mm.
And also, it's almost like I'm inducing guilt in myself, hoping
Mm.
that that guilt will prevent me from eating.
Mm.
Halaki, for most people, that doesn't work. So it's a very bad strategy.
Yeah.
What for me, what real healing in this context will be is I look at the gulab jamun and I don't feel like eating gulab jamun.
Mm. That's
Right?
quite something to
Or
achieve.
I take the first bite,
Yeah.
and instinctively after the first bite, I feel full and content
Yeah.
that I don't need to eat more.
More.
right? So depending upon why am I eating, matlab at times you may actually like the taste and you may just want to taste, but then
Hmm.
taste buds can be satisfied in one bite also,
Right. Right.
right? So for me, this is what real healing would look like.
Would look like. Okay. So how to create neural emotional pathways of behavior to bring about this shift?
Yeah, neural emotional pathways, मतलब ना बहुत fancy बड़ा वाला term हो जाता है. What we are saying is exactly the same thing, that you want to change your patterns and you
Hmm.
want the new patterns to become as automated as the original ones were,
Right.
right? Now, how do you do that? There are processes to do it, right? Like you can condition your mind through when then statements, swish, you can do anchoring. Um, this is therapeutically first, or with self work where you have learned certain techniques for your
Hmm.
self work. You
Hmm.
can do reframing, you can do levels of transmission. There are a lot of these self help tools available. We have Meet Goal that we have recently launched, and there are a lot of these tools available on that app. So
Hmm.
there is processes and techniques available to do that. But
Hmm.
if you don't have any of these things,
Hmm.
right, begin by being kind to yourself.
Hmm.
While I'm saying this, even while saying it,
Yeah,
I know
it's very
that,
difficult.
yeah, matlab, I'm asking you to do something which eventually you will feel. Again, it takes a lot of effort to be kind to myself,
I
right?
think to just understand what it is, I think most of us don't know.
So yeah, so actually that's a good point. So for me, that ideally would be the first step. That if you want to change your pathways,
Hmm.
recognize that the existing pathways are dysfunctional.
Hmm.
Okay. So at least just pay attention to what you're doing on an ongoing basis.
Right.
What actions of yours are creating discomfort, pain in your life,
Hmm.
and you are still repeating them in spite of the fact that they are causing discomfort and pain. When I'm saying discomfort and pain, I'm saying both long term and short term. Because
Hmm.
sometimes people are like, but short term, I feel relief now. But that
Hmm.
itself is one of the reasons why it's a dysfunctional behavior, that it's giving you relief in the short run, but causing more harm in the long run.
Hmm.
Right? So just observe, pay attention to what you're doing, listen to the words that you're speaking.
Hmm.
If you realize that you're using too many excuses, too many justifications, too many complaints,
Hmm.
okay, probably there's something to more closely look at,
Hmm.
right? And then start small. Start by learning one small process, apply it with yourself, see the results, then move to another process, then move to another process. I know I talk a lot about processes, but the reason is that I can keep telling you to love yourself,
Hmm.
right? But unless you can experience how you love yourself, what it is like to love yourself, and what can I do to love myself,
Hmm.
all of this is intellectual gyan.
Right.
And those processes come into play because they actually help you get that experience.
Hmm.
Right? And again, we are living in a world where a lot of these processes are now available freely. You can search for them. So there are enough opportunities available for you. None
Hmm.
of this is a replacement to therapy.
Right.
When you are experiencing intense emotions which are really bothering you,
Hmm.
please visit a therapist.
Hmm. So, cognitive shift and an emotional reconditioning that enables a no fight kind of a space in our life is when we can say that we are somewhat healing or on the path to healing, although healing is unique to every person.
So
And
in terms of internal feeling, it will be unique. But what one would experience is increased reduction in internal conflict.
right.
That you realize that you're not constantly having a fight between two parts of you. One
Mm,
wanting to do something, another one doesn't want, not
mm,
wanting to do that. So
mm,
as the internal conflict reduces,
mhm.
that for me would be a good indicator again that I'm moving in the right direction as far as my healing journey is concerned.
Okay. So I think, sir, I've almost tried and covered whatever came to my mind about understanding repetitive dysfunctional behaviors, keeping our environment in perspective. And I'm sure the audience who's watching us would also have some follow-up questions on that. So we'll request them to put them in the chat box and probably we can
And
answer
we'll take it
them.
up in probably in the Friday session. If so,
Right.
those of you who are watching this, if you are watching this after the live is over, then please leave your comments. Every Friday we do a Q&A session. I would take up those questions over there and address those questions. Also, one last thing before we end is, if you're a therapist and you have to work with repetitive patterns,
Mm-hmm.
then what do you do? Right? So here is like a framework that I would suggest you should follow. Begin by helping the person define what their current problem is, what the desired outcome is. Let them explore the benefits of overcoming this repetitive pattern that they are following in their life. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Let them talk about how their life will be different once they are free from it.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the motivation will come from.
Okay.
Now, once you've done that, then
Mm-hmm.
help them first define what the repetitive behaviors are. Many a
Mm-hmm.
times people will come and tell you that I have these dysfunctional behaviors, but when you ask them what are those behaviors, they don't know because they've not paid attention.
Mm-hmm.
So ask them to specifically pinpoint
Mm-hmm.
which are those recurring repetitive behaviors that are bothering you that you would like to change.
Mm-hmm.
Make a note of all of those behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if there are one or two behaviors, uh, begin with helping them identify what their current thought patterns are, what their current emotions are, and then help them restructure it using when then statement and anchoring.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Do this for every repetitive behavior that the client wants to change. When
Mm-hmm.
you reach a behavior where you have used when then and anchoring, but it doesn't work,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a recurring behavior,
Mm-hmm.
then move to reframing.
Right.
Reframing will basically be exploring positive intentions behind that recurring behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, for repetitive behaviors which do not have intense emotions connected to it, when then anchoring plus reframing will
Work.
do.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you will realize that those repetitive behaviors are driven by deeper emotions. So clients will tell you, I get very frustrated and I didn't do this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just about the repetitive pattern or the behavior, there is a repetitive emotional pattern that is driving the behavioral pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in that case, you may want to explore the underlying cause of that repetitive pattern. So that is where we will probably look at delayering the emotion, identifying what the root cause is, and then using a inner child or regression or any of these processes to work with the past baggage from where this pattern is
So
coming.
that's where the unresolved trauma comes.
That's where the unresolved trauma will come. There are also possibilities where there are no major emotional component, but there are multiple behaviors that are repetitive and problematic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then working with each behavior through when then anchoring and reframing can become a bit of an overkill. So that's basically where you may want to work with the client's identity first
Mm-hmm.
and then work backwards from there, and which is where levels of transformation will come into play. That you actually help the client identify what their current environment is, what their behaviors are, what their skills are, or what they're lacking, what are the beliefs that are driving their current patterns, what are the identities from where they're borrowing those beliefs. And then you help the
Mm-hmm.
client change those identities, beliefs, skills, behaviors, and environment. So, this next step. At every stage, keep measuring the impact of work that you're doing with clients.
Mm-hmm.
So check between previous week and this week what changed in the client's life,
Mm-hmm.
right? If something is not changed that you had expected should change during this week, then don't go to something else. First, address what you were working with previously, right?
Mm-hmm.
You may need to use a different process, a different technique. That's okay, but work with that first. So this is the
Mm-hmm.
overall overarching framework that I will tell you that probably we can follow when we are working with repetitive patterns.
Right. So yes, I can vouch for this framework definitely because that's what I've been using all these years and it's been a game changer, complete framework. And yeah, I totally agree with whatever you said. So thank you so much, sir, for this lovely insight. It was very, lots to learn, lots to understand. And I'm sure our viewers have also gained from this live.
So thank you for hosting this. One second, for those of you who are watching us, if you are from a psychology background, you want to develop advanced practitioner skills, then take the next step. Visit the ICHARS website, schedule a follow-up call so that we can explain to you what the process is, what the course is, and how the course can actually help you develop advanced practitioner skills and so on. Plus, you can opt for the membership program, which also means that you can opt for ongoing mentorship for 1 year, and there isn't anything that we charge for that. So there's a lot to learn, and there's a lot of
Mhm.
support available. You just need to be willing to take that next step to make use of the opportunities available with you. And if you're someone who is looking at tools, techniques, ways to enhance the quality of your life, go to the Meet Goals website, download the app, use the free version of the app. The free version itself carries a lot of interesting things that you can use with yourself. And then eventually, if you feel that there are additional things that you want to do, you can also subscribe to the pro version. We are right now running a limited time lifetime deal. So if you want, you can probably make use of that. So you pay once and then you can access that app for all your life. So there are tools available. There are a lot of tools available being offered by us ourselves. Please take this opportunity, go ahead, make use of it. Any place if you feel stuck, you feel you want to connect with someone, reach out to our team, and I'm sure they'll be more than happy to help you. Thank you everyone once again.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.